Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be talking about transit Pluto conjunct one's natal south node. When we're talking about transits that involve Pluto, they can be about transformation, power, obsession, fixation, and control. When transit Pluto conjoins one's natal south node, well, this may manifest in transformation, power, obsession, fixation, and control. It could be about what we're going away from. You could be going away from some of these qualities that I just described as far as what's associated with Pluto. It might be going away from some obsession or some compulsive issue in some cases. Say if this is in the 12th house, maybe there's some in some isolated cases, there could be a mental illness I believe it's called obsessive compulsive disorder in some isolated cases. It could be, I mean, if it's in the eighth house, it could be obsessing over something of a sexual nature. Uh, and also, the south node is connected with the past, and it could be something where maybe you something from the past is something. It could be maybe a controlling person from the past comes back, or it could be somebody that maybe you were obsessed with. In some cases, or it could simply be leaving a lot of these plutonian qualities in the past. In some cases, and the thing about this too, when you look at the south node, it could also reflect redundant, overdeveloped qualities. So, and remember that Pluto is about obliteration and destruction. It may be an opportunity to actually eliminate those qualities and go on to where you focus more on the north node, and especially if this is in this transit is transpiring in the second part of your life, say at 35 and older. That's generally when the north node energy is going to be more accentuated and emphasized. Now, another thing too is where in some cases though too it could be about getting, there might be more power in those overdeveloped qualities. And whether, remember that conjunctions are neutral in astrology, it's about intensification of energy. They could either be positive or negative, and depending on the aspects that this transit is making at other points in your natal chart, that's what can determine, I would say, whether this is going to manifest positively or negatively, because a lot of this is predicated on the other aspects that makes the points in your chart. Now, it could also be when we're looking at South Node on a positive end, it could be an area where we're really naturally proficient in. It could give power to that. It could be being very proficient at this time in Plutonian type matters. It could be whether it's insurance or taxes or some kind of investigation, seeing deeply into things, going beyond subterfuge and superficiality. Um, it can be something too, but South Node also, I would say, in many instances, can affect the energy it's heading to its detriment. It could bring out detrimental, negative, or adverse qualities of that astrological energy it's hitting. If it's in this case, transit Pluto hitting the South Node, it can bring out, I would say, sometimes very obsessive, fixated, and compulsive type of energy. It may be, and the thing about this is, it may not always be associated directly with you. Like as an example, it could be, somebody, like a stalker, for example, might be coming out of the woodwork, or you might have to deal with somebody else that might be very obsessive. If it's, like, say, um, in the 12th house, you have this transit. It could be something where you're being stalked, but it's hard to find, actually trace that person as to who it is, because the 12th house is, of course, that house of the hidden. Um, let's say another thing too is that for those, some of you may believe that the south node is connected with the past life. So in some cases, you might feel that this, if that's what you believe as far as what the south node could be connected with, It could be about maybe connecting with somebody you thought empowered you in a past life or had a very transforming influence on you, or somebody that may have been involved in some kind of insurance or taxes with you, a shared resources situation, somebody you had a very intimate connection with, or even somebody that was in like a Plutonian type profession, such as the occult, which includes astrology. Um, and the thing about it is the south node can be connected with what we're leaving. So in time, on a positive note, it could be about leaving Plutonian things, but it could be leaving something that you might have been obsessed with that wasn't really doing you any good. It could be a shared resources situation, or maybe there was somebody, there was some kind of support that you were giving somebody, but you felt like you weren't being compensated properly, and maybe you're leaving that situation behind. So now another way this could be expressed, this could be really, in some cases, fixated on something pertaining to the past. Now, let's say, for example, if this falls in Aquarius in the second house in your natal chart, it could be on some kind of electronic. I'm sorry, let's say it falls in Aquarius in the fifth house in your natal chart. It can be on some kind of electronic games or playing like that Mattel, what was it, that Mattel electronic football was pretty popular. Um, Game. It could be doing maybe some computer type of possession that you truly enjoy, like it was Commodore 64s, um, because the fifth house is connected with games and enjoyment. Now, the thing about this is, it could also, this transit may manifest in maybe perhaps deep research into something that you maybe it could be what you're going away from or leaving behind. Now, let's say it could be some compulsive issue that you're trying to leave behind. Let's say that this falls in the second house as an example. It could be some kind of compulsive hoarding of possessions. Uh, or even, I mean, Pluto is also connected with vengeance, revenge, and jealousy. So those could be things, characteristics, if you will, you may be leaving behind. If you were jealous of somebody or something, this is a time where you may decide to just let go of it at this time. Or you're trying, say, if it's in, you have this transit in the seventh house, you were actually thinking of exacting vengeance on an open adversary. This is something where you might just decide to let things go. Um, and also remember that Pluto is connected. I mean, it's connected with power and obliteration and destruction. So this could be where it could be about gain. It could give more power to the redundant, overdeveloped qualities of the South Node placement, or simply obliterate them in some instances. Um, Say if this falls in Virgo in the 11th house, for example, it could be perhaps being really over analyzing things connected with astrology. And there's nothing wrong with being analytical and detail oriented with astrology as an example, but going within the finding the dwad within the dwad of a chart, things like that. Is some things can be about over dissection. Now, also too, in some isolated cases, there can be, I mean, south node can be adverse, and it can affect the energy, that's the astrological energy that it's hitting, to its detriment, I would say. So in some cases this could be some issues with something Pluto related physically, especially if this falls in the first or the sixth house in your natal chart. It could be issues, say, with the colon, the prostate, the bladder, or the reproductive system. Or it could be in some isolated cases, if somebody does have this transit and they've been having to contend with some kind of obsessive or compulsive disorder, this could be that time. This could be something where it might be affected more adversely, more so than usual. And again, reiterating what I said before, that for those that do have a belief in past lives, it may manifest in some rekindling or reconnection with somebody that was very Plutonian that they had known in a past life. It could be somebody that was, um, got a very transforming, powerful effect on one's life. It could be somebody that was in a Plutonian type profession, such as the occult, which includes astrology. Um, it could be somebody with forensics, or a detective, or investigation psychologist, somebody in recycling, insurance, and taxes, or a person that works in a death profession, such as a coroner, a mortician, or a funeral director. Hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back. But anyway, and the thing about this is just and keep in mind too that when you have transits of Pluto, a lot of people don't even have this transit in their lifetime because, of course, it takes Pluto much more than an average life span to traverse all 12 signs of the zodiac. And if you have this transit, of course, it could be very significant, very important at this time, and it's something just to keep in mind. Um, and again, the fact that this can affect, anything that involves like a contact with the South Node can affect that astrological energy to its detriment. Keep in mind, Pluto is also associated with death, and not to be overly morbid or morose, but in some cases, it could be manifesting experiencing the death of somebody that you may have known or close to. I mean, prominent in your life scheme. The fifth house, it could be a lover or a child, or the seventh house could be a significant other, or maybe a significant friendship in some other instances. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard saying stay well.